Hey everyone, how are you? I know there's been a little break between my videos. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on what way you look at it, I was actually out in Florida speaking at a conference. I was keynoting a conference of accounting professionals, talking to them about how they can best prepare themselves for the bumpy times ahead, because we all know about the pandemic. We also all know loud and clear that we've got bumpy times ahead. And what I thought I'd do for you guys today, rather than talking to you about tax returns or tax insurance or all of that important stuff that we know we need, I thought, you know what? Our partners at D&T, our client partners, are part of the D&T family. And why should you have to travel to Orlando to hear the stuff I'm talking about? Why don't I just share it with you on these videos? So what I want to do today is just share with you the way at D&T that we go about change, how we go about change management, and the questions that we ask ourselves. Because I'm sure that in your business in some way this can help you. And we need to remember that there's only 6 questions in the English language. There's only 6 questions. And I'm going to cover off 5 of them because one of them at D&T isn't particularly relevant. But I'll share with you what that one is as well. So for every change that we're looking at, we look at creating a one-pager, because we found, both internally and externally, one of the challenges of any change process is communication. You can say things over and over and over again, but by the time you're bored of saying it, other people are only just starting to hear it. And as I said, we've had that. We've made mistakes in the past with communication to you guys. We've made mistakes with communication with the team. We know that communication is something that can always be improved. So to help refine our communication and make sure that there's clarity in the change process and communication we're trying to make, what we do is we create a one-pager that answers 5 of those 6 questions. So the first one is what? We look to create a very succinct summary of the change that we're trying to affect. And often it's not the first line, because human nature is to dive into the tactics of what it is that you're doing and to go down. And actually you need to peel away the onion to get to the core. What is it that you're trying to do? And expressed in a way, in 1 or 2 sentences, that people can understand. Now, you might not use those 2 sentences, but it helps ground you and all of your communications around whatever change it is that you're doing. It helps ground you in what it is, and it gives you a playbook on what to say. The second is when. What is the deadline, and what are the deadlines in the process? So if there's an absolute deadline, that's the point we'll set it out. The question we don't include is where, because we're based in one office and largely remote, so we don't feel the need to focus on the where, but you might. The next one is how. And this isn't to try and create a project plan. You certainly can do that on one page, but it's just to brain dump the steps, the tactics that you might have thought about in the what stage, and to brain dump them so that you've got a point of reference to go back to. So it might be that you know of a software tool that can help you to do what you want to do. It might be that you know that you need to do something or speak to somebody. It just helps you have a place to dump those down as a first step, a back of a fact packet tool to help you understand what's next. Then perhaps the most important one, who. Who is impacted by this change? And often the first 2 that come to mind will be your team members and your customers. They're certainly the first 2 that come to mind for us. But you then need to extrapolate that out further and really dive into who the stakeholders are of your business, who has a vested interest in you doing well. That will include your family, that will include your friends, that will include your local community, it might include your industry. And there'll be a myriad of people that you need to include within the who. And then that allows you to think about the messaging based from their perspective rather than your perspective. Because often we want to change because we want to change, but actually we need to take people on that journey. And then finally, the why. Having to think about why is you're doing this. Now, I'm not a big believer in the Sinek start with why model. If any of you have read any business books, you can see I've got a truckload of them behind me. Simon Sinek talks about knowing your why, knowing your core purpose. I'm a realist. I'm not a theorist. And I tend to think that if you're buying paper clips, you're buying them because they're 5 pence rather than 6 pence from somewhere else. You're not buying them because the why of the organisation is to transform the lives of people who bundle paper together. So I don't necessarily believe the why is important in the way that he puts forward, but when it comes to change, the why is really powerful. And for all of your stakeholders that you identified, it will be different. For everybody involved, it will be different. For every step of the journey, it may be different. So having that one pager is really valuable. Now, we do this for big changes. Some of you have seen our new engagement system that helps us become compliant with our institutes and make sure that everyone's engaged properly. Some of you would have seen some of those large-scale changes, but some of you would also, you might be aware that we make minor changes. And one of those where we used this one-pager was a reorganization of our Microsoft Teams channels. And that's the kind of thing that most people might deem just to be a click of a button and do it. But by mapping it out and making sure that we understand the views and the perspectives and the desires of each people, understanding what order things need to be done in, etc., it helps us make the change as smooth as possible. So I hope that's a useful nugget that you can use in some way in your business. As you know, I like to share these things that I learn, and whilst I have the opportunity to speak on stage to thousands of people about this stuff, I'm also really honoured to be in a position where I can share this with you guys as well. So I hope you found it interesting. If there's anything else you'd like me to talk on, drop us a note, marketing or hello@team-dt.com, and our team will let me know what I need to do for you. And look forward to speaking to you next week.